This is the luxury world. Get inspired with us today and tomorrow. When it comes to Rolex, we all have our preferred models. But what about those that often get overlooked? The unique ones, or those that didn't quite conform to expectations? For resolute collectors, it is essential to think about watches that may be appreciated. In this video brought to you by the Luxury World, we will explore 5 of the most underrated Rolex models, focusing on their distinctive features, historical importance, and why they merit greater appreciation within the watch enthusiast community. If you have not subscribed to our channel yet, we highly recommend doing so now to stay informed about our future video releases. Some people buy Rolex watches for the hype, while others choose them for the brand's heritage and build quality. Some of the watches we will discuss may be familiar to you, but there is one that you have probably never seen before. Rolex chronograph. Let us start with the first watch. It resembles the datejust, yet it's not. It's similar to the Submariner, but again, it's not. It is the Rolex chronograph, often referred to as the grandfather of Rolex sports watches. The chronograph was the first commercially available Rolex with a rotating bezel, debuting even before the Submariner. For a deep cut, we could discuss the very first Rolex with a rotating bezel, the Xerograph Reference 3346 from 1937. These were not available for purchase, and only a few examples are known to exist today. The original chronograph Reference 6202 closely resembles an early Submariner, while later generations of the chronograph share similarities with the datejust. As you search for the chronograph, you will notice various eras of this watch. The 4-digit models from the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the 5-digit references from the 80s and 90s, and the final generation, which ran from around 2000 until its discontinuation in 2011. Each era of the chronograph offers its benefits. The vintage references have the charm that only comes with age, while the modern versions feature conveniences like upgraded movements, quick set dates, and longer-lasting lume. Neo-vintage models provide a mix of both. This model can be polarizing. Some see it as a fantastic blend of the datejust's elegance with the sportiness of a rotating bezel. Others feel the combination is a bit conflicting, as though it is trying to go in 2 different directions at once. Regardless, it is a watch that has not received much attention over the years. Rolex Precision 9083. Our next watch is another unusual one, sticking with the integrated bracelet theme but adding a UFO-style case. It is the Reference 9083 from the mid-1950s. Have you ever seen a Rolex like this? It looks like something straight out of a 1950s sci-fi movie, with a flying saucer-shaped case. Even the crown is recessed into the case to accentuate the look. The Rolex 9083 was only available in Great Britain, and only for a few years. The integrated bracelet design was way ahead of its time in the 1950s. The watch measures 36 mm wide and only about 9 mm thick, thanks to the manually wound caliber 1210 movement. Many of these models come with stretch bracelets, which add to the comfort and are something we wish we would see on modern watches. The handset is sharp and elegant, and the textured honeycomb dial can develop a beautiful patina over time. It is a rare mid-century oddity that can be found for under $10,000. Let us finish with a lightning round of honorable mentions, focusing on watches you probably already know but that deserve more attention. The 39mm size hits a sweet spot for many, as seen with the Tudor BB58, the Pelagos 39, and the now discontinued 39mm Explorer. While there is a 40mm Explorer available now, you will likely get a better deal by opting for the 1mm smaller version. The same goes for the 36mm Stay-Date 1803. It offers dress watch elegance with a wide variety of details, from fluted bezels to baton indices, at a price that is often lower than anticipated. The Milgauss is famously underrated. If that makes sense, it is a bit thick and quirky, but it can be a great daily driver if you want something more fun. Rolex's 34mm watches, as a category, tend to be overlooked. If your wrist is under 7 inches in circumference, these will look great on you, and some of the most striking dials can be found on the watch market. Lastly, the classic Air King and Datejust 2 both hold their value well and provide an accessible entry into the world of Rolex. Rolex Yachtmaster. Moving on, we will briefly discuss the Rolex Yachtmaster, though probably not the one you're thinking of. Most people immediately picture the 44mm Yachtmaster 2, which is bold, heavy, and often worn by those who insist it's not a boat, it's a yacht. However, the Yachtmaster family has more understated models that are almost chic. The black bezel and precious metal versions are hidden gems, perfectly embodying the stealth wealth concept, even though that term has been overused recently. The mid-size steel options with platinum bezels and expressive red or ice blue second hands are also worth exploring. While the 35mm version may be too small for many, the 37mm offers exciting potential, ideal for those with smaller wrists or who want a dive watch look without the bulk that typically comes with divers. It is worth noting that mid-size options are also available in 40mm. The titanium Yachtmaster draws a lot of attention and fetches a premium, but that is the exception. Like the chronograph, many people overlook the Yachtmaster family because it lacks a purpose-driven history. It was not made for the military, explorers, pilots, or race car drivers. The collection is a bit eclectic, but there are some underappreciated models within it. A helpful tip for finding hidden gem watches today is to lean toward neo-vintage models. For Rolex, that usually means 5-digit references. 4-digit models are vintage icons, and 6 digits are the latest and greatest, but the often overlooked 5-digit range is where good deals can be found. Rolex Submariner 14060. Take the Rolex Submariner reference 14060 and 14060M, produced from around 1990 to 2010. Collectors consider these the last of the best Submariners before Rolex introduced significant updates. Much like software updates on your phone, not everyone loves the latest version. The 14060 followed the famous 5513 references and retained a lot of vintage charm, featuring drilled lug holes for easier strap changes, an aluminum bezel that develops a patina over time unlike the ceramic bezels, no date for cleaner dial, and tritium lume on earlier examples. Its case profile is slimmer and more compact than today's bulkier super case models. So, for Submariner purists, there is much to appreciate. Prices for these start around $8,000, which is cheaper than a 5513 and considerably less than current models. At first glance, the Yachtmaster may even trick the eye. You might think it is a Tudor or even a Rolex Oyster Quartz. Upon an even closer third look, you would realize it is not an Oyster Quartz at all. Rolex Oyster Perpetual Reference 1530. What we have here is the Rolex Oyster Perpetual Reference 1530, featuring an automatic movement inside an Oyster Quartz case. As many of you know, the Oyster Quartz was Rolex's response to the quartz crisis, when cheap and accurate battery-powered watches began dominating the market in the 1970s. Many heritage watch brands, including Rolex, decided to join the trend, and they launched the Oyster Quartz in 1977. It features a very 1970s style angular case with an integrated bracelet and a quartz movement from the same era. It is said that many Rolex employees of the time wore the Oyster Quartz as their daily watch because it was, and still is, the most accurate movement Rolex ever made. Even now, if you are not too picky about quartz movements and want something different, the Oyster Quartz can be a fun and cool time capsule in Rolex's history. But if you like the design without the quartz movement, or if you want something rare, the 1530 is a wonderful choice, but it will cost you. Prices for these are high, so you could argue they are neither underrated nor undiscovered. However, they have become a favorite among hardcore Rolex collectors who have done their research. It is estimated that Rolex currently produces about 1 million watches annually, but only around 1,500 of these particular models were made between 1975 and 1977 before the Oyster Quartz debuted. Low supply and higher demand have driven up prices, even if only a small community knows about this watch. These usually sell in the mid-teens, which is pricey for a typical datejust, but a deal compared to integrated bracelet watches like the 37mm Royal Oak, which starts at double that price. Plus, the 1530 is far rarer than a Royal Oak. What are your thoughts about the Rolex underrated watches we shared in this video? If you enjoyed the video, we would appreciate it if you let us know by leaving a comment and giving it a thumbs up. Do not forget to follow our channel for more content. Once again, this is the Luxury World, and we look forward to having you join us in our upcoming videos.